Here we have a pretty tough example of evaluating a function and simplifying it. So we have f of x is x squared plus 7x minus 10 over x squared minus 3. And we want to be able to evaluate and simplify for f of w minus 1. That means we're going to replace all x's with w minus 1's in parentheses. So going into this function, we have f of x is instead going to be f of w minus 1, since we're replacing all x's with w minus 1's. So first x is x squared, so we're going to do w minus 1 squared. Next piece, we have plus 7 times x. We're going to switch with a w minus 1. And then last term is a minus 10 in the numerator. All over, we have x squared again, so we're going to do w minus 1 squared minus 3 times our x, we're switching with a w minus 1. So lots of things to try to simplify here. So we're going to square out and distribute whatever we have to. So starting with the top, we're going to do some side work for the top here. First of all, we have w minus 1 squared. Anything squared is just multiplied by itself. So 7 squared is 7 times 7, 6 squared is 6 times 6, 9 squared is 9 times 9. So w minus 1 squared is just w minus 1 times w minus 1. So we're going to FOIL this out. First, outer, inner, last. So our w's, w times w is w squared. Now we're going to look at the outer pieces. So on the outside we have w times negative 1, which is going to be negative 1w. And then our inner terms, we have negative 1 times w, which is going to give us negative 1w. And then our last terms, the last term on both is negative 1 times negative 1, which is going to be a positive 1. So w minus 1 squared ends up being w squared, and then you have minus 1w minus another w. So negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2w plus 1. Okay, so we figured out that first term in the top, and we can actually use that for the bottom too. It comes up twice. W minus 1 squared is just going to FOIL out to be w squared minus 2w plus 1. So we want to remember that when we think about the bottom. But before that, we have to finish the top here. We have plus 7 times w minus 1. So we need to distribute this out. So we have 7 times w minus 1, which is going to give us 7w, and then 7 times negative 1 is going to give us a minus 7. And the last term on the top is a minus 10, so we're going to carry that down here too. So for the top, we have these three pieces. This w minus 1 squared ends up being w squared minus 2w plus 1. And then the 7w minus 1 ended up being plus 7w minus 7. And then we ended in a minus 10 for the top. And so we can reduce that to be what? Well, let's combine any like terms. So for the w squared, we just have 1w squared. But then we have minus 2w plus 7w. So we can grab our calculator. Negative 2 plus 7 is going to give us 5w. And then for our constants, we have 1 minus 7 minus 10. So I'm going to plug in 1 minus 7 minus 10 is going to give me negative 16. So there's the simplified numerator. W squared plus 5w minus 16. Okay? Now let's look at the bottom. The bottom starts with w minus 1 squared. We already did all this work. We said w minus 1 squared is the same thing as w minus 1 times w minus 1, which is w squared minus 2w plus 1. Okay? So we really just need to FOIL or distribute this out, rather. We have negative 3 times w, which is going to be negative 3w. And then we have negative 3 times a negative 1 is going to make it a positive 3. And then we want to combine any like terms on that. So we just have a w squared and minus 2 minus 3w. So negative 2 minus 3 is going to give us negative 5w. And then for our constants, we have a 1 plus 3 is 4. We can leave it just like that for now.